Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And today I have for ya. I don't know. I guess what the only thing I was really thinking about this morning was that thing I've mentioned before about how people they really do. We're all very pretty self-centered, and I think it's in ways that we don't really realize, but we only actually care about or notice the things that would make us upset, and that's what we feel guilty about doing. you know I'm not saying this about myself. I'm saying this about what I see in other people, because for myself, I mean, there's plenty of things that I don't really care about at all, and I still feel, like I kind of know that it's going to upset somebody else, though, so now I have to do something about it. I don't really think people think that way. I mean, maybe they don't have to, because whatever they do think is just a part of the norm. It's a part of the median. So, maybe they just don't have to think in that way or something, but you know, I think that for the most part, this is how people operate. So it's only really things that they would get upset about, and that's how they know to not do something to somebody else. You see what I mean? I really think that that is how people operate. And so plenty of people do plenty of rude things, but it's just because it's not rude to them. They're not going to feel bad or know that it's bad to do. Because a lot of people, they're not going to think like this. I mean, I think about it, which is why I realize these things, but I think there's a lot of people who don't. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, so, but I could easily say it's like half and half. Like, there's probably like half of people that actually think about these things, but the other half probably just doesn't. And they either happen to be polite based on they were taught to be polite, or they're polite based on they just naturally assimilate towards the median. And then, because they naturally understand and feel the things that other people understand and feel, then, it works out for them, but it's not like they're necessarily smart or they're necessarily aware. It's just because the things that bother them also bother other people. So of course they're just going to naturally be able to assimilate, but it's not really based on like a teaching metric. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody ever explained it to things to me in that way. I think, it's a lot of like, you need to do what you're supposed to, but there's not really too much of the energy of what I'm talking about, which is, a lot of people have it easy because they just naturally assimilate to what they're supposed to do. I was going to talk about something else, but I lost my train of thought. So that's why I'm a little bit frustrated and caught off guard. But I think it's still really frustrating, like the to have to deal with the world right now. And I guess I can't really complain because I don't really have to deal with the world too much. You know, that's probably, and it's extremely fortunate because of all the metrics, where I try to gauge myself, you know, my income is one of the lesser impressive, but I think my ability to just not have to deal with people, it's something that I take for granted. I think because I wish I could. I wish there were more people in my life, but yeah, I mean, we talk about this so many times recently too. The grass is greener on the other side of the fence, but not having to deal with people, it is a gift in a way because a lot of people are not worth dealing with. They're just not. And I've been protected from that, you know, and I've had to like force myself to interact with other people. It never happens automatically. And I think that could be the reason why, is just because I really don't think most people are worth it. You know, there's a lot of people that don't make sense. They don't add up. They're confusing. They don't know themselves. They don't act like I do at all. And these people become weights in your life. You know, you don't, it can get scary. It can get really scary. And I think I've taken it for granted that I just have had the space that I've had and the time that I've had, because I definitely should not be complaining. It's really just a money thing, but it's getting to the point where I need money less than most people. You know, I don't really feel like I need as much money as a lot of people. And it's getting to the point where I've been working, I've been saving, and I'm still working. You know, I'm not fired yet or nothing like that. And so it's starting to stack up, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, the days go on and it's kind of like, I don't know, is the money issue that much of a problem? I mean, sure, I wish I was richer. I wish, you know, I had a bigger, nicer home to live in, to reside in, more space, like a bigger room. But ultimately, I'm fine. And so I wonder if that is necessarily better, because I really, we've kind of thought about it before, but that's like the only thing, like I always wished it was different. I wish I had more money. I think a lot of people do. But I wonder what that would actually mean for my character and what that would have meant for me. You know, it's interesting to think about. I think it is, at least. Like, where would I be? Because yeah, so much has happened because of my lack of access to money. That's kind of, it's influenced so much of my views on things. Because I kind of explained, like, I didn't work for a while, and so I couldn't really buy stuff that I like. There were pretty long stretches of my life where, you know, I didn't really get too much. Like, I wanted a lot of things, but I just never really bought them. And I just never really used money. Like, there would just be very long stretches of time where I just wouldn't use it. And that wasn't because I couldn't. It was just because I didn't. And I think that's a big distinguishing thing. Like, I guess in a way, I want to say my life, it's been a bit confusing, money. Money's been somewhat of a confusing thing. I think in some ways I'm over aggressive about it, over cautious about saving, and yeah, this person behind me is like pretty unhappy. I'm not sure what their problem is. Yeah, again, fuel cost is high. It doesn't stop people from revving and speeding around you. It's you still see it now. That person in the Jeep Gladiator, I'm sure their mile per gallon's not great, and they just blew a ton crossing the double yellow to get around me. And let's see, are they just going to be going to, well, that they're kind of speeding so far ahead, I don't know, I can't see them anymore. So they're definitely speeding. Guess we'll never know. We'll never know what happened to that person, but yeah, that's the one thing, the major thing is the money. But I don't know that that's really a problem. Like, I've always had a stress about spending. You know what I mean? There's been a stress about spending. And I don't know that there needed to be, but I guess it's not a bad thing. Like, it's been a good thing. But in some ways, I think it was like too obsessive or too bad. And there were times in my life where I probably should have bought something, or I should have just got a job, and I didn't. I've always had this aversion. I guess it's dissipating now, but this aversion to work and to becoming a part of the system. And I'm not sure where it came from, but it could have been a mixture of anxiety versus a mixture of already feeling fairly satisfied. But that's the concerning thing, is I don't want it to be anxiety and that be the cause. So I want to try to think about this because it's an important topic. When I probably should have been working and preparing to work, I really didn't want to. I just saw this world and the things that happen in this world as cyclical, insignificant, requiring a lot of work, but mostly being insignificant. And I was really trying to focus on some kind of a transcendence, an escape from the material world, an ascension. And I knew I had time because I was still in high school to be thinking about these things. I was young. And that was my goal. My goal was just to kind of ascend and be on the outskirts, you know? But I didn't succeed, obviously. Well, maybe I did. You guys actually wouldn't really know. Because I don't know how I could have ascended, and I could just be like playing all this up. But I never did. I think, I eventually became interested in the world, interested in working. I didn't really like all the free time I had necessarily, and I don't know. You know what I mean? And I think about it, and I think a lot of it was anxiety. Like, and that's kind of the not so pretty angle, because obviously that's not coming from a good place. It's not coming from a mindful place at all, which is really what being enlightened should be. It should be coming from a mindful place. But I wonder now that I have been working, how I really feel resurfacing back into that thought process, because now I've been working and I'm tethered to the system, but at the same time I'm not. The only thing is I have a commute. Like, I would think if I could just walk to my job, that would be like peak not being tethered to the system. But I do have to drive, and it is a fairly long commute. So I'm still tethered to the system. I can't escape it. I can't really escape the system, which is a shame. The car part is the main thing, but I'm trying to use the car thing as a means to do this. I've always been so aware of the car thing too, and everybody else around me it just seemed like they just didn't care. They just couldn't really figure out why I was so averse to getting a car, but it makes sense. It's very expensive to pay for a car and to pay for car insurance. I wanted to at least, work for a while without needing to do that, but, things happen. But it just seemed like people were always ignorant to these things. And I would be thinking about them first and foremost. But a lot of people just get a car because you have to. Like, they're not even really thinking about anything. I don't know what people are thinking about, but they're not really thinking about money or efficiency or anything like that. But yeah, so I guess since I have a job that I can be pretty mindful at due to the, I guess, space or liberty, you could say, that I'm given, I'm kind of wondering about, like, what do I really want? Like, do I really want to become entrenched in the system? What do I want to do? It's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. And I don't know that I have an answer right now. I think it's something I'm going to think about as time goes on. But the whole point is it's a luxury nonetheless. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is the nature of it being a luxury. And it's a luxury that I have taken for granted, you know? I know I say this all the time, but I still wish I could go back and give myself more awareness, more than even what I had. Because I just don't know. It's just that, again, the world for me, it's just not made for me. I think we discussed this before, how I'm trying to process things. I'm trying to do meaningful things. I'm not really trying to do many things. You know, that's the difference. That's the difference. A lot of people are trying to do a lot of things. Like I've explained, constantly watch shows, constantly do this, constantly do that. And it's just crazy. Sorry, just thinking about stuff. I gotta stop apologizing for that, though, honestly, because, you know, the reason you can't talk without thoughts, right? I mean, even though most of the time I feel like my thoughts are being transmitted to me, I don't feel like I'm in control. It's the times of being able to think that are also important. So I really should stop apologizing. I don't know, but I guess there's still a lingering confliction about needing to make the episode good. But I think it's about time to let that ship sail, you know? And just say, like, is what it is. I'm doing what I'm doing. Forget it. That's that, you know? Like that kind of energy. Because it's my thing, you know? It's my thing. It's not your thing. But I don't know. That's the important question of why am I even. I think part of the thing I guess I'm not really realizing is I'm already closer to my goal than I think. You know what I mean? I think I'm already, and that's what's silly about all my stress and scarcity. Because I'm starting to check some boxes. Like I'm starting to get some serious content documented and posted. And while it's not, it might not be good enough in scope for consumption. Like I've said, my theory about running an AI through my channel and retrieving everything, that theory stands. You know, it's a strong theory. I wonder why. I I guess it's always strange to me that people don't or can't appreciate a good thing. I see it quite often where it just seems like people don't. People make the wrong choice, they pick something of lower quality when they could have picked something better. And it does genuinely seem, and I think I've mentioned this before, it does genuinely seem like people, they don't really care too much about how good something, like I know it sounds crazy, or at least to me it sounds crazy, but yeah, I don't really think that these sorts of things matter to people very much. Like if something's actually good or if it's actually better, if I'm providing a good or a better experience or somebody else is, I just don't know how much it matters. I talk to so many people and they don't really care about what's better. You know, that just doesn't really cross their mind. And if like they want what they want and whatever they want, it's somewhat random, but of course, you know, it's not really random. There probably is a greater pattern, but I don't think people can really articulate why. I don't think many people know why they want what they want or why they are who they are. I think it just kind of comes up. That's what I think, at least. I don't know. You know? And it's very frustrating to me, you know? I've just always dealt with that where it's like people really I don't get it. You know, and I think that a lot of people it just stuff doesn't really matter to them that much. And their minds probably don't really think in what's better. It just thinks in if something in front of them is like bright and flashy enough or like distracting enough. And yeah, a lot of this like concept of like, okay, well, what's actually better? It just doesn't really cross their minds. And I see it because people don't really. It's why it's difficult to interact with people. Because it always happens to me. It always does. And I just don't know what's wrong with people. I don't even know exactly how to explain what I'm trying to say, but people really don't. They just don't know. I don't get it. I really don't understand. And it's not fair. And this is kind of what I was talking about in the beginning when it comes to humans and how they interact, why it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me because there's so much potential and yet there's not. There's so much potential and yet there's no potential at all at the same time. And I think that's the thing that I've recently really been trying to get over. Is that I was the one the whole time and just spending time with myself. It was always all good. You know, it was just always a good situation. And it wasn't necessarily the other people involved, it was myself. It was me. It was, I was still always the one there. I was the common denominator. And when I record, I'm trying to channel that through here finally. It's a shame because it's still not another entity, so it's impossible to really replicate, or at least I kind of think it will be. It would be cool if it wasn't. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe someday I will be able to replicate it. But yeah, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's always been a frustrating mismatch for me. You know? Just always been that way. Now, again, will I be able to? I don't really think so. Yeah, I think it's going to be the same thing as yesterday, although I've thought of a wiser idea to get around that. I don't think I have to go into the street this time, but yeah, there's definitely annoyances going on, you know. Definitely annoyances for some time. For some time. But yeah, it's it's just always been this thing I've noticed in people. I mean, they just don't care. The things they care about are not actually important. Like, people will put the most care into something that matters like almost the least. That'll be something that really sparks somebody's interest, and it's just so frustrating. I mean, I have my silly moments too, but it's just like, you know, it is what it is. I don't like saying that. That's what I'm saying, like with my life. It's like my life's been fine on paper, but there's just so many like mental knot twisters in my brain that, you know, some of this stuff's just like, what? Yeah, like some of this stuff is just like what? You know? It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's been schla, but now it's time to buy schla. So, see ya schla.